Neen, is this working? Does that sound like it's? Yeah, that sounds like it was working. So, welcome to the University of Oregon, Lundquist College of Business. Can you believe you did not have to go down to Eugene to come to the University of Oregon? Whenever I tell people that you can go to the University of Oregon in Portland, they tried to tell me you're wrong. You know, it's like when I would tell people I worked at Nike and their home office was in Oregon, people would say, no, 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 that's in New York. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Okay, my name is Ellen Schmidt Devlin. I am the executive director of the Lundquist College of Business here in Portland. I'm also the co-founder of the sports product management program that we have here in Portland. So we have a master's program. We have some students that are here. They might be in here, they might be out there trying to get a job. They might be in the other room. So they move here for 18 months and they learn how to go into the sports product industry. They learn the business side of creation. So when we created this program 7 years ago, we found product programs that were not focused on sports, and we found sports programs that were not focused on product. And so we decided to build a sports and outdoor master's program. We also knew that people understood that Portland is the hub for the sports and outdoor industry, and this would be a cool place to live. But some people may have a job in New York and they don't want to move to Portland, Oregon. So we have a second program. We have a Master's of Science in Sports Product Management online program that you can attend. We've got our recruiters here. If you're interested in coming back to school, we promise it will not be the experience you had as an undergraduate. We promise you that. It'll be a great experience to learn this industry. But today we're here for a very special occasion. Basecamp Outdoor has agreed to partner and come to the University of Oregon and to bring their brilliance to you tonight. And so my privilege and my pleasure is to introduce two of the leaders in that organization, Jenna and Allie. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here. I'm Allie Carr. I am a co-founder of Basecamp Outdoor, and I have to say I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought I'd be standing in front of like this large of a group of people talking about this organization that we built. So it's such an honor to see all of you here tonight.
And we're so glad to bring our genius here. Thank you, Ellen. If you don't know Basecamp, we are where the outdoor industry networks. We are a community. We are where everyone congregates to share opportunities and advice and resources. So we live on Facebook right now, and that's our main community hub, but we also have a newsletter that goes out every week. We also had a podcast, which we've pivoted into a more interactive format with office hours where you can speak with brands, and we're doing events. After the pandemic sort of opened up to it, we've been doing them at Outdoor Retailer and partnering with great folks like UO like this. So we're so happy to see you. If you're interested in learning more about us, we are theoutdoorindustry.com, or come talk to us or find one of our flyers with a QR code around the building.
Yeah, so first I just want to say thank you to University of Oregon for inviting us to come and bring our community here and collaborate with all of your students and connect everyone with hiring brands and each other. So we're just so grateful to be here in community with all of you.
I have a list. Hold on. Okay, so we really want to thank all of our sponsors and our partners, Backbone Media in Colorado and Cotopaxi in Utah. They can't be here today, but they are sponsoring and cheering from us from afar. So check out those companies. And then here today, we have Elevate Outdoor Collective, and you may have heard of K2 Skis, Backcountry Access. They have about 13 brands under their umbrella. So go to their table, talk to them about that. We have On Running here. Derek is actually on the panel today, so he is doing massive double duty. We appreciate him. Oregon Outdoor Alliance is here. If you are local to Oregon and in the Bend area, you might want to check them out. They have a cool little thing on their table to fill out. Rumpel is here, the blankets. Yakima, the maker of the racks, they're here as well and very enthusiastic, and we're happy to have them. Arc'teryx as well. They've been a partner with us for a while, so we're pleased to have them. And then on our panel today, we also have Noto Group and Rivian represented. So thank you so much to our sponsors and partners making this happen and generally making Basecamp happen, across our offerings, because we want to keep that free for job seekers as long as we can.
If you missed it, we have QR codes here on the doors. There is one for job seekers and one for folks who are hiring. And if you scan those, you will basically be launched into a world of beautiful resources for you. If you're hiring, you can find out all the ways you can leverage the Basecamp community and get the word out about your positions. If you are a job seeker, you can join our talent database that we just launched. And we are hoping to utilize that, and we will utilize that to connect you all with opportunities that are relevant to you. So definitely make sure you scan those codes there.
And before we hop into the panel, we like to tell our community, ask for what you need. Be very specific and let folks know what you need. What Basecamp needs is for you to share what we're doing with your friends. If they're looking for a job in the outdoor industry, even if they're not involved right now, tell them about Basecamp. If you know a brand that's hiring and wants amazing outdoorsy talent, tell them about Basecamp. We have grown organically from 200 people when Ali first started the group to more than 35,000, just by folks sharing with others who might enjoy what we're doing. So we really appreciate you spreading the word for us.
Absolutely. All right, so now here we are. We're going to start the panel, and we're going to learn how you can shine as an applicant in the outdoor industry, whether you've been in the outdoor industry or whether you are hoping to join the industry. That's really what Basecamp is all about. We're here for anyone who wants to learn more about the outdoor industry. So we're excited to have you all. Thank you for being here. I would like to ask each of you to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are, what company you represent, and how you have expertise in talent acquisition. Go ahead.
Cool, I'll start.
Oh, you might not be on.
Can you all hear me? Hello? I'm already failing.
Do you want mine?
Is that working?
Nope.
Hello?
All right, go for that one.
All right, let's try this one. Hey, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for having us. My name is Dan Kim. I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Early Career Talent for Rivian. So we primarily focus on our early career initiatives, university relations, internship programs, rotational programs, all that fun stuff. I've been at the company for a little over a year, but I spent pretty close to about a decade now in the university relations space. So this is, first of all, first time at a in-person event in over 2 years. So this is definitely filling my bucket. So thank you very much. But before coming to Rivian, like I mentioned, spent pretty close to about 10 years in talent acquisition, had some stops at companies like Twitter and Snapchat in California, spent about 3.5 years serving as a director of UR at Nike, which is what brought my family and I up here. So I've actually been to this building before and very familiar with the sports management program. So good to be back. So again, we primarily focus on a lot of our early career initiatives, and we have been rapidly growing that program. And Rivian is still new to kind of the outdoor space, if you want to call it, but hopefully I have a few pieces of a few nuggets and information that I can share from a overall TA perspective.
Hi, everyone. Ooh, my microphone's working. All right. My name is Meredith Morris. I'm the Business Development Director for Noto Group. We're an executive search firm here in Portland and specialize in the consumer product space. So the company's been around for about 13 years now and has grown up in the athletic and outdoor industries. But as the company's grown, we've worked with a lot of brands and companies in the food and beverage space, grocery, and also nonprofit as well. Really where we like to play and work is working, we're a B Corp, so it's really important for us, regardless of industry, that we're working with companies that are mission and purpose-driven organizations. It makes recruiting for those companies so much easier. So, and it really kind of fills our cup too. So I've been kind of in the talent acquisition and HR world for about 12 years now. I started Actually, right out of college, I got a degree in business and HR, and I had an advisor at my college who had actually recommended getting into recruiting, that it's a really great place to start when you want to get into HR. And so I landed an unpaid internship working for a staffing agency, and basically never left recruiting since that experience. Just absolutely loved everything about talent and kind of being that dot connector and matchmaker for great candidates and companies. So early on in my career, I worked for Adidas and was worked on their recruiting team there. Had a lot of fun while I was there. Managed the summer internship program for our marketing business. Also was part of an HR team that built a leadership development program for marketing managers that were kind of seen as like emerging talent within the brand. And then just recruited too for kind of entry level to mid-level roles as well. I actually, from there, led me to Noto Group. I was an executive recruiter there for several years, and then a client recruited me away. And I feel like I can't even say this organization in this room, but I worked for Oregon State University for 3 years. But had a really great experience there. I was part of a team that launched the Center for the Outdoor Recreation Economy there. It's brand new. It's just happened in the last year, and it's focused on research and new program development for the outdoor industry. So a space that I feel very passionate about. And now I'm back at Noto Group, and really happy to be here tonight with all of you too.
Hi, everyone. I'm Derek Murphy-Johnson, and I'm the head of talent acquisition for North America and Latin America for On Running. I have around 20 years of experience in talent acquisition and HR. I actually started off in sales and marketing in the hospitality space, and I was a maternity coverage for somebody in recruiting, and I fell in love with the ability to connect opportunity and talent. And from there, I worked for Centero Resorts, and I built out their very first resort contact center and operations center. And then I continued in the hospitality space, and then moved into healthcare. And then I got tired of the heat. I was in Arizona, and until you've experienced 115 degrees consistently, you don't know what Arizona's like. So I got tired of it. I wanted to be where nature was green and not brown. So that's what led me here to the Pacific Northwest. And I worked at Banfield Pet Hospital for a number of years, leading the corporate recruiting team. And then was at KinderCare, where I led corporate recruiting. And then I built out the talent attraction function at recruitment marketing for KinderCare education. And now I am at On Running. And in addition to leading the North American and Latin American recruiting, I also lead our global retail expansion. So right now we're taking over the world as we're trying to as a challenger brand. We're opening up around 11 locations globally this year. So thank you for having me.
All right, panelists, I'll probably throw this one to you first, Derek, who also threw out that they're growing from 200 to 700 people this year. So you may want to talk to him. What are you looking for first when you're looking at an application? What are the things that candidates should make sure they have in that application, and what's okay to leave out?
I think if it depends on if you have experience or not. So if you're no experience, looking at where your passions are, what type of student programs were you in, what type of activities, what type of sports, what type of groups have you participated in as students. If you do have degrees, talking about the transferable skills, take a look at the job descriptions. I'm a firm believer that you should create a new resume for every single job posting, looking at the keywords that the employers are using on their career site. For us, we are very big on sustainability and diversity and taking a look at our spirits and our culture, and really spend some time on an organization's LinkedIn page and matching keywords on your resume. I would say that, if you, again, if you don't have any experience and are fresh to the workplace, you can leave off things that aren't relevant. If you were a cashier or a barista or something like that, you can leave that off as it's not really relevant for us. Yeah, I think I'll pass it along.
Definitely echo the relevancy piece. It's not a one size fits all, and hiring managers and recruiters definitely notice if you're giving them kind of a canned resume. I'd say the other thing too is just being really concise, especially if you're applying for what you think might be a really highly competitive role. The recruiter or the hiring manager may be looking at hundreds or even thousands of applications, and you probably have about 10 seconds to catch their attention on whether or not they want to move forward with you or not. I would just say, like, really think about your resume as being a marketing tool for landing that interview. It's not a place to catalog every experience you've ever had from like middle school. It's really about staying really concise and really focused on the experience and accomplishments that you have that are relevant for the job that you're applying for. I guess in terms of things to leave out, when you're thinking about conciseness too, and you're like trying to figure out what to fit on the page, references upon request, just leave it out. You don't need it. If we want references, we'll ask for it and just assume that you'll have those readily available. Marital status is probably not something you need to include on your resume. I've seen that. And just like spelling errors, please leave that out of the resume. Just double, triple check your resume. I feel like, again, too, if you're applying for a highly competitive role, recruiters and hiring managers are going to look for anything that they possibly can to eliminate you from the candidate pool. So just triple check spelling for sure.
Yeah, I'm at a disadvantage going to last year. But yeah, I mean, Derek and Meredith, they hit on a lot of great points in terms of the customization. And a regular question that we get is, hey, is it okay if I have a multi-page resume? And I think it's a yes or, it's a yes and a no, right? Yes, in the sense, if everything on that resume is relevant to that specific job that you're applying for, absolutely. I think that there's a good justification to really showcase your background. Now, again, to Derek's point, if you have things in there that perhaps you're doing in high school, or your babysitting background when you're applying for more of a marketing role, maybe not relevant, that you can leave out. So really be thoughtful around that. And then the only other piece that I would add, when you are actually going through the application process, be selective as possible, right? I'm sure that the other panelists will attest, we get candidates constantly that are applying to tens of dozens of roles. They might have this preconceived notion that, hey, if I apply to a ton of other roles and if I show that I am willing to do anything and everything for the company, maybe I'll stand out. But it's actually the reverse. It tells us that you are not targeted in your search. So please, please, please make sure that you're applying to no more than 4 to 5 roles at a time that you're really, really excited about. Because again, when I see a candidate that's applied to 15, 20 different roles, I will automatically kind of move on to the next. All right. So please keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that if someone's applying to that many roles, it's hard to understand who they are or what they're going for. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I will also add, just from working in this space, not as a talent acquisition person, and also having been a job seeker, that it's really easy to apply to so many jobs right now. Like, you can go on LinkedIn and hit apply now, and send that resume out. But always keep in mind that there is probably at least 1 or 2 or 3 people for which this is their dream job. And so those people are putting in time and effort into crafting a resume and a cover letter that is specific to that role. And so it's going to be hard to get ahead of that person if you also aren't doing that and aren't showing how your skills are translatable. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes it's quality over quantity, I think, with the job search. Okay, now I'm going to step off my soapbox because I'm not here to be a panelist. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to start with you,
Sure.
Give you the advantage. Yeah. So if someone does not have outdoor industry experience, and maybe at Rivian that's not super relevant, or maybe they don't have automotive experience, or however you want to qualify Rivian, how can they stand out?
I think a good way is to really do your research on the company and their philosophies and their values, core values, mission statements, anything that's happening currently in the news. I think this is a really great way for you to stand out, right? And again, this is, outside of just the outdoor space or the automotive space. It just kind of shows that you've done your homework, right? So, and this kind of goes back to that first question around, well, how can you stand out, especially when you're being assessed by what's on a piece of paper, finding ways to kind of connect again to the mission of the company and really demonstrating that, I think is a great way. For example, Rivian's mission statement is to keep the world adventurous forever. And, adventure doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have been a camp counselor or go, rock climbing every weekend. Everyone has a different definition of adventure. So how do you exemplify that, right? How do you really define that? And there's a lot of great ways to do that. So that would be my advice, is to make sure that you actually do your homework. And when I say, do your homework, like really, really do your homework and research the companies that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I would say if you don't have the outdoor industry experience, I think there's definitely other ways to really showcase in your resume that this is an industry that you're super passionate about, right? Whether it's through your hobbies or interests, and really highlighting those in some way in the resume as well, in addition to the connection back to the brand too. I think that's really important. I'd say too, just seek out the outdoor community too. It's not just working within a outdoor company. Basecamp is a perfect example of a community that's great to be connected with. Just like the networking, I think, is invaluable there. If you have the time to do it, looking for outdoor volunteer opportunities or volunteer board opportunities, or looking to see what I'll do another call out too for the Oregon Outdoor Alliance, which is the business alliance here in Oregon. It's a great community and group to be a part of, just to learn about all of the businesses across the state. I think too, if you do land the interview, especially do your homework, and not just with the company, but the industry itself. There's a ton of, there's so much information on, just Googling industry news, right? And just really making sure that you're kind of well-versed and well-read in what's going on with that company, their competitors, and the industry in which they operate in. I would just say too, in the interview, make sure that you have questions for them. It really shows how interested you are in the company, even if you're not coming with the industry experience that they may want.
Now I know what you mean about being at a disadvantage. So I echo everything that my panelists said. I would also say use social media and digital platforms to your advantage. Go on Glassdoor, go on Blind, find out what the employees are talking about. If you want to be in marketing, look at where the marketing manager started off, looking at the marketing manager's career. Do you know any alums? Do you know anybody that worked at companies they did? Use networking to engage with them. And we're all busy. I think we can all say, like, as recruiters, we don't have a lot of time to answer everybody that gets back to us. Don't take that personally. I'm somebody that I try to connect people. If I don't have time to respond, I try to forward it on. I am going to say that I don't get to everybody. But I be curious and be adventurous, similar to Rivian, be entrepreneur spirit is for us. And so that doesn't mean you have to start your own business, but it's facing the unknown and really embracing that and driving something forward. And so showing that in either your schooling, your classes, your interests, your hobbies is really a way that you can really do that and stand out in front of employers. And I do want to do a plug that bots don't reject you. Human beings reject you, recruiters reject you. And so there's a lot of people out there that tell job seekers how to beat the bot. There is no secret to beat the bot. There is no bots. We're the bots.
Yeah, I just want to call out one thing too. Working on the agency side and working with outdoor clients, we do, and I think the outdoor industry is doing a good job too of kind of asking these questions, but we're constantly asking our clients, how important is it really for this position and this person to have outdoor industry experience? Are they going to be able to are they going to do the job better than somebody who doesn't have that experience in this particular role? And I think some companies, I think, are really thinking about that right now around like which roles are really important to have that industry experience and which other opportunities could that maybe be a learning opportunity for the folks that they hire. So just wanted to mention that.
I agree. A lot of the HR managers we speak with, when we're asking why they want that outdoor industry experience, it really boils down to, do you know the codes and the cues of our industry? Can you speak to our audience and know who we're actually serving? Typically, if you're pulled to this industry, there's a reason for it. You go outside, you have a personal Instagram in this realm. So talk about those things, the friends you have, what pulls you to the outdoors is probably good enough to work for an outdoor company, generally speaking. We would love to talk about reaching out. You sort of started talking about this, Derek. When you've put in an application or before you've done so, should you reach out to the recruiter? Should you try to talk to somebody and get more information? And if so, how should you be doing this? What medium should you be, following through on? And I do want to say too, like, recruiters are not a monolith. So one person saying absolutely reach out to me does not speak for someone else, but there are general practices to follow.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is intentionality. So taking the time to do the research. Why do you want to work for the company? What we have been talking about, find your passion, because for me, if you have a passion and you don't have experience, I will hire somebody over passion. Passion over experience 9 times out of 10. Because if you have that passion, that's what's going to drive you internally. LinkedIn is a great way, as I said, to engage with people. When you're engaging with people, talk about the position that you're applying to or the area that you're interested in. If you don't see anything on the career site, call that out. I've already taken a look at your career site. I don't see any posted positions, or I did just apply for your role. I know, it's an internship. It may be competitive. I just want to put face to a name. I get those a lot, and sometimes it catches my eye just from the cleverness in the message of either looking at our spirits and tying the message back to the spirits of our organization, telling me, I wore a pair of Ons at the Boston Marathon, really gave me that personal record and really made me feel great at the finish line that I did it with my Ons. So tying it back into the organization, or again, looking at the background and if you have commonalities, tying that into your message. I'm a big believer in networking, and so being introduced through somebody else. And again, being that intentionality of going to somebody and saying, I'm interested in this position within this organization. I see this person is the head of marketing, the head of product, the head of R&D. I would like to know 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to know, or whatever that elevator pitch is, or whatever those nuggets that you want to know, or that person to take away. Be clear when you're reaching out to network and have that person connect you with that organization or that person. So that person, when they go to their network, I don't know this person, but in talking with them, they want to know these things about your organization or the role.
You sure? Yeah, the only bit I would add is to really leverage employee referrals, and we take referrals pretty seriously. So reaching out to your recruiter, absolutely continue to do that. I love what Derek said. Like, don't take it personally, because we get hundreds of thousands of reach outs and we can't get to every single one. However, if you are able to find a connection with an employee that currently works there, that's a great way. All right, we put kind of extra care and attention to referrals that we receive. So again, it's as simple as going on LinkedIn, maybe leveraging your alumni networks, seeing who currently works there, even if it's your roommate's brother's cousin, right? Which would be your roommate's cousin, I guess. But but I should have thought of that. But the point being, regardless of your relationship with that individual, having somebody at the company to vouch for you is humongous, right? So that's a great way. So instead of kind of focusing your time and effort on connecting with a recruiter, try to find somebody else within your network that works there that you can really connect with and leverage.
Yeah, I would echo all of that. I think I'd also add to, just that it definitely never hurts to be proactive. I mean, even if you're just wanting to follow up just to see, if they received your application and just to reiterate your interest, again, in the role and with a few reasons why, I think that's always good. Expect, maybe, I don't know, 2 times out of 10 that you might get a response back, but you'll know that they've definitely seen it. And I think it does mean, it is meaningful. I think, really cultivating and sort of maintaining all relationships is important. I mean, even if you get a no this time on the opportunity, you never know where you might, encounter that recruiter or that hiring manager again. And if you stay professional and appreciative, and you just kind of never know where these opportunities will lead. I just wanted to share one kind of success story too on being proactive. So we had an intern that was working with Noto Group a few years ago, and he came to us by actually originally talking to Patagonia. He was applying for an internship with Patagonia. He was up against like 9 or 10,000 other people for one internship. He ended up talking to the recruiter though, but didn't get the position. He connected with her on LinkedIn and kind of noticed her past job history. Well, before she started working at Patagonia, she was a recruiter at Noto Group. So this person then reached out to the president of Noto Group and said, hey, I found your website, really interested in what you do and the clients that you work with. Are you looking for an intern this summer? And our president was just super impressed with how proactive and ambitious he was and just his approach. And so we ended up hiring him as our intern. It was a really great experience for him because he not only learned about Patagonia, but he was learning about all these other outdoor companies that we were working with at the time, and ended up landing a job at Prana after that internship. So you just kind of never know like where your path is going to lead you, and your first stop might not be your dream company or your dream job. So hang in there.
Yeah, thank you. And speaking of sort of presence and you never know, where you're going to catch someone's eye or not. We talk about this in Basecamp all the time, how you show up in Basecamp in comments, how you show up talking to other people in the group matters, because there are hiring managers in the group who are looking at your responses. And so I have a question for all of you, because actually after talking to a Patagonia recruiter about this, I'm wondering what your take is. Do you all check candidates out on their personal social media? Are you looking at their Instagrams? Are you looking at, maybe not LinkedIn, maybe LinkedIn is sort of like a mimic of their resume, but are you looking at other elements of them online to see who they are?
If we're bringing them in for an interview, yes.
Yeah. And what is it that you're looking for on their social media? I know at Patagonia, they always said they wanted to see if the person had any sort of activism going on in their personal lives. Were they environmentally active and that sort of thing, because that's what's important to the company.
I'll speak for myself. I think I was looking for sort of authenticity. Were they sort of saying who they were and what they wanted in their resume the same way that they're showing up in their social circles? We spend a lot of time at work, and so your professional and sort of like at times your like personal lives sort of blend, so you just sort of want to kind of see, I think, just that authenticity that they're presenting in their resume. I think though you have to be a little bit careful because like I say that like we'll look at social their social channels and then bring them in for the interview. You have to be really careful about what sort of biases then you're bringing into the room, because all this information about them. So I kind of say that with caution too, around how much homework you may be doing on a candidate before you even meet them. So
Yeah, unfortunately, I've only had situations where an individual's social media negatively affected their candidacy, right? And I think kind of going back to what Meredith was saying in terms of that blend between your personal and professional life. And oftentimes the individual that you are outside of the office may exemplify who you are inside. Sometimes it doesn't, but it is a really good indicator, right? So it's not like recruiters are in there on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and like, scrutinizing every single one. Oh, there's a beer in that. No, we're not doing that. But I think that kind of goes to that level of professionalism where you want to make sure that you are able to present yourself. And again, we live in the 21st century where there's a lot of information out and it's easy to find. And we have to be good stewards of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Be you though, because if you're being authentic on your social medias and a company, if it's not their thing, do you want to work for that company? So
yeah, totally.
I would say that we don't technically look at social media platforms, but I would say we do have softwares that will serve it up for specific roles in marketing, creative, content, and IT will look in and see what you're talking about. And we're really looking to see, like, are you a nice person? Like, that's really what we want, because for us, like, we have radical candor as a part of our organizational culture. And so we want to keep that culture going where everybody can be safe, they can be vulnerable, they can be authentic. So we want to make sure that we're bringing in nice people. And so if you are a troll or if you are being mean in the comments, like, we're probably going to pass on you.
Yeah, mean people suck. All right, cover letters. This is the great debate. Do we want them? I'm a huge fan of cover letters because I look at it as a writing sample. When someone is working for us, like, writing emails is a massive part of your job every day. So I look at it as a writing sample for a company. How you would write emails is how, like, to me, is how you would write an email on my company's behalf as well. Not everyone feels the same. So how do we feel about cover letters, and what should you include in them?
I'm not a fan of cover letters unless you are in a communications position. And if you're in a communications position, I want to know the why. I want to see your writing style, structure. Are you concise in your language that you use? Is it in the same tone of voice that we use in our company and our external facing? But in general, I think I can count on two hands how many cover letters that I've looked at in my 20 years of recruiting.
I'm going to be honest, I don't really look at cover letters either. I mean, you kind of zoom into the resume and look for the experience or the potential that you're looking for in that opening. So, and if we are looking for, writing samples, it'll come up in the interview process. We'll ask for writing or work samples, or we'll have you work on a project that you may present in your final interview. So I'm probably in the no camp too, but I don't.
So I could lie and play devil's advocate and say cover letters are awesome, but I would agree. I can't remember the last time I looked at a cover letter. I'll be honest with you. And I think for some roles, to your point, like, communications, anything that's kind of around creative, perhaps. But again, I think focusing more of your time on the resume itself really makes sense. And more oftentimes than not, nowadays, with the applications online, the company will ask you a couple questions, right? And really focusing on that. That's really what we're drawn to, not the actual cover letter. I mean, for the most part, 95% of what's on the cover letter is in your resume anyway. You're just worded it in a different way. So, again, take that advice, as you will, from the three of us. But yeah, I'm in line with you too.
I just want to chime in. So I don't look at cover letters. I do look at thank you notes and thank you letters. So after every interview, I recommend sending that thank you, spending time, and don't send out a generic, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to hear back from you. Cool. So be intentional. Again, show your passion. Why do you want to work for the brand? What can you bring? What value can you bring? And what do you want to learn from us? So I put a lot of emphasis in the thank you email or the thank you letters.
I always like to use the thank you as a way to reference something back that we, potentially talked about, and or offer up some extra information that maybe wasn't present in the interview that will add value to my application. So that's one way I like to think about thank you notes. Yes. I would love to know, when do you all feel like it's appropriate, and I don't like to use that word around this, but for somebody to broach the subject of salary. So here in Basecamp, we strive to get companies to post salary ranges in their job listings and have that be a part of the conversation off the bat. But we also know that that's not, happening across the board yet. Hopefully it will at some point. So I'd love to know, is it presumptuous for a candidate to bring up their salary requirements in the first conversation? Is that something that you welcome, something that you encourage? What's your take there?
I would focus that initial conversation on really more that information intake, right? Just ensuring that the role is really what you're looking for, and vice versa. Because kind of those details, including salary, I think is better approached in a subsequent conversation. I think if you were motivated by money, like let's say this role was for you, scrubbing toilets, but they're going to pay you $500,000, and you're motivated by money, absolutely go for it. But from my opinion, I would want to focus that first conversation, because usually it's only like 20, 30 minutes long. Learn as much as you can about the role and make sure that it fits in with your passions. I think that's really the best time. When it comes to salary, absolutely. I think you all need to know how much you're worth, and really kind of that threshold that you're looking for. And I think it's appropriate to be open with your recruiter on that. I think the one piece that I would mention about salary is, as a recruiter, we are your biggest advocates, right? We are on your side. We are on your team. But we also have a fiduciary responsibility to our business, right? To our company. We want to be good stewards of our money. But don't think that if we're not able to meet you to where you are, we're somehow banking that delta and we're taking home a bonus for, the extra 5,000 that we're not giving you. Like, that's not the case. I wish it was a recruiter. It's not the case. So just know that, like, we want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to get you to where you're comfortable at. And just know that we are advocates for you, and we're not, going against you if we're not able to kind of meet you where you ought to be. But ultimately, that's your decision, right? There's a lot that goes into a employment decision. There's a financial piece, there's the job, the scope of role piece, there's a career growth, there's a learning, there's a culture piece. Are you going to have fun there? So I encourage you to think about those opportunities holistically, not just kind of unilaterally when it comes to the finances.
Ditto. Yeah, if you ask the salary piece too soon, we're going to think you're money motivated. And so like he said, really dig in and find out, is this position right for you? And after you're interviewing for a while and you're learning more about the roles and the scope of the roles, you're going to kind of know in that initial conversation, this sounds like a little bit of more of a junior role. This sounds like a little bit more of a senior in scope. So you can kind of start getting an idea of where that compensation is. And after the initial interview, if you're really curious and saying, here's my bottom line, this is really what I'm looking for, but I'm open in a follow-up email to the recruiter, that's totally acceptable. But don't go into that initial conversation thinking that you're going to have that salary conversation. Talk about the intangible things, like how does your company benefit? What type of benefits do you have? What type of outings? How do you guys get together? How do you guys celebrate? Learn those other type of benefits outside of the compensation. And then when the time's right, that second conversation, talk about the salary aspect of that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I mean, I think in that initial conversation, really just sort of assessing for fit on you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, right? And so I think really just wanting to make sure that it's feeling like the right opportunity for you is really important. I think it also probably depends on who you're talking to also. I mean, I think you could probably have a little bit more candid conversations with the recruiter if there is a recruiting team or HR team that's supporting the position. Whereas with the hiring manager, who will likely be your manager, wanting to sort of just keep that about the opportunity and the work and the potential and the growth opportunity that you'll have there. But I think it's totally okay too to ask, like, what's the salary range for this position, and don't hold off too long on that, because that's also a key component onto whether or not this will be a good fit. And I just want to say too that if anyone ever asks you how much you make, it is illegal for them to do that. So don't feel like you have to answer that question. What they can ask you are, what are your salary expectations? And then you can share with them, kind of the range at which you're looking for. But you do not have to share what you're making at your current position. So just wanted to share that.
Ask them what the budgeted salary is for that range, and that will help you with negotiations too. Great companies will come to the table with their highest offer, and that's a really fantastic way to do this. Like Dan was saying, they are your advocate in many, many, many circumstances. So if it's a great company, they will be doing that. You all know what I think about salary, so we'll leave it at that. Anything that we want to say in the last 2 minutes or so that we have, like what would you like to add or have the audience take away?
Or any roles that you're hiring for,
Yeah,
sort of
we
more
can do that too.
urgently right now, call those out.
I mean, I'll just say it's a very exciting time. It's a very hot market, and I think one of very, very, very few positive things that have come out of this post-COVID world is that there's a lot of opportunities out there. You just have to know exactly where to look. And, I think coming to events like this is a perfect way to start, and leveraging organizations like Basecamp. But there's a lot of opportunities out there that's really, really exciting, especially for college level students and early career folks, and even professionals as well. So best of luck, and yeah, hopefully see you out there.
Agreed. Yeah, it's an exciting time. Employees and candidates are in the driver's seat right now. There are I think it's one person for every almost two job openings right now in the U.S. So there's a lot of opportunity out there if you have the time. If you have the ability to kind of wait it out. Just wait till you find that right opportunity and really make sure it's a great fit and an organization that's going to really support you after they hire you. Yeah, that's all I'd add. Oh, we are looking for someone actually at Noto Group. We were just talking today that we could really use a sales and marketing coordinator, and we're still trying to figure out at what level we're looking for, but if anyone is interested in either of those fields, would love to talk to you.
I would just say that be mindful and be vulnerable. Like they said, it's a great opportunity. There's tons of jobs out there. We're growing 70% year over year for the past 4 years, and no slowing down in sight. So we're going to be hiring for everything. So I don't have any specific job, but all of them. And do your research. The worst thing, going back to what you said about ask questions, do your research. Like, look at the companies, go to Glassdoor, research the companies, be thoughtful when they say, do you have any questions about the organization? What's the organization growth? What's the financial of the organization? What's your approach on diversity and inclusion? So do your research. Ask employers hard questions. We love when you ask us hard questions because that shows that you've done your research.
Thank you all so much for your candor, for sharing this space with us today and giving these wonderful responses to these wonderful people. Dan has to leave, so
Go pick up my in-laws from the airport.
Oh, that
yeah,
sucks.
So
okay.
I think you all will be having way more fun than I am. I love them dearly. I mean, yeah.
If you do have questions for Dan, you can channel those through us, and we might be able to get those to him. Derek has a table. He is going to be busy, but come see him. And Meredith will be milling about. So if you do have questions after the panel, come talk to us, with the exception of Dan, who will be at the airport.
If anyone wants to come with me, feel free.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all. Enjoy food, drinks.